So we might already be familiar with this term knowledge gaps, but knowledge gaps are where knowledge about public affairs, information, and policy issues is differently distributed in a social system. So this is a little video that's kind of it's a little on the nose, and it's a Jimmy Kimmel thing, so it's kind of funny. But and I'm not going to play it here. If you want to watch it, you can look at the PowerPoint slides that are also in Inquire. But it goes through asking men about Roe versus Wade, and they're framing it as like a MMA fight or something like that, and nobody is understanding what the question is. So, and this is just, if we go back to what knowledge gaps are, it's how differently distributed information affects our social system. So, whereas, and that you see things, or I see things on Instagram a lot of the time that's like asking men about women's periods, and they're like not the correct answers because there's a knowledge gap between men and women on women's reproductive health systems, etc. So, this is also not just, I talk about reproductive health care a lot because I have research in reproductive health care and communication, but this also relates to a lot of different things. And there's generally a gap, a knowledge gap, where we see education gaps and socioeconomic gaps. And this is because of access and the reasons that you're taking these classes are to learn good critical media analyzing skills. And if you're not a college student who has gone through that, then maybe we're consuming news in a different sort of way. Anyway, there's a gap there, right? With then there's also a gap here sometimes with the digital divide. And I want to just note that this is stereotypical of older adults asking their grandchildren to fix their tech devices and all of that. But you can see here that there there can be a gap, a knowledge gap when it comes to people who are well informed about technology and those who have not used it a whole lot, right? So our digital divide is a gap in technology access, not necessarily related to age because older adults can be very tech savvy, and that's a negative stereotype that they're not. So, but based on demographic and socioeconomic variables. All right, 3 additional divides related to the digital divide. So the economic divide, this is where someone can't afford a computer, therefore they cannot access the news. There's also the usability divide. So if someone doesn't know how to use a computer, then they can't access the news via that technology. And then empowerment divide. So if I don't know how to satisfy my needs and goals when using a computer, then I cannot access the news. So, and that goes back to like what we learn in these mediated communication classes, right? Okay, I am going to pause here for your viewer fatigue.